So I do want to get your take on the Epstein thing, because like I said, I do think this is going to be the biggest scandal of his presidency. And I could see Bondi having to resign over this, just like Acosta did in 2019. But I want to actually get your response to Ben Shapiro. He put out a video, and I just wanted to play that quick.
And the problem is this: people who never hedged their bets, people who never at any point suggested to you that they don't have data to back up the speculation, that the speculation was in and of itself the conclusion that if you speculate without evidence, that amounts to an actual conclusion to an investigation, they're going to be very upset today, because it turns out that the DOJ and the FBI have concluded that Epstein didn't have a client list and died by suicide, according to a memo detailing the findings obtained by Axios. Now, again, does this put to bed like all inquiries? Of course not. People can continue to speculate as much as they want. And I think there's still open questions here regarding how did Epstein make his money? But that's a very serious open question. And the speculation for a long time was he made his money from blackmail. But the DOJ and the FBI, again, run by people like Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, are telling you, I'm not telling you, they're telling you, people who are members of the Trump administration, people you elected and put into these positions to get you the truth on this matter, are telling you that he didn't, in fact, he was not murdered. He did not keep a client list, and he did not blackmail powerful figures. Okay, right? That is the thing that they are saying, not I. They are saying this. If you're willing to throw that over and claim they're lying, then I'd like to see you present your evidence that they are in fact lying. Because I know Dan. I don't think that Dan Bongino is lying to me. I know Kash Patel a little bit. I don't think Kash Patel is lying to me. I don't think these people are lying to me. Which means that if somebody else continues to claim that they're lying, they ought to provide their evidence at this point. And now is the point at which the facts on the ground have changed. And so either you ought to shift your opinion based on the facts that have now emerged, or you ought to acknowledge that this was never a fact-based inquiry in the first place.
All right, so there's that.
Wow, I had not seen that. Wow.
Yeah, and his main takeaway seems to be that, like, you know, yes, Epstein was doing salacious things, but I mean, he was just procuring children for himself.
Well, I will say, dude, this is, that was, I got to almost give it to Ben Shapiro. That was kind of beautiful. Like when I just watch, I go, I'm impressed, just like on a talent level. The funny thing is that like the media has become so much less of a controlled environment, and there's so many more voices now that I think this pure like propaganda just doesn't work as much anymore, because people, and I hope I play a small role in this, and you do and stuff, but that we can kind of poke holes in this and like, okay, let's go through this and just tear apart these arguments. But it was a little bit of a moment where you could see why Ben Shapiro rose up the way he did. You know, I'm not saying it was totally organic, but like this is why he was like Mr. Conservative for a while, because man, he can just like, in the most propagandistic, sophistic like way, he can like present this thing to you where it's almost like, oh, that did ring a little bit compelling. That did sound kind of true. But everything he's doing is so, even when he goes, there are still some questions about how he made his money. Like, I'll allow you that one. This is the least interesting question about Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, it is an interesting one, but like, it's not even like the first, like, obviously anybody who knows like even a few things about this would go to something that, like, you know, his intelligence connections, the blackmail operation, you know, like where the videotapes are, who was on them, you know, his money. I'll give you the finances. You can have that. Why? He didn't justify why. That's the only one, but he just kind of slides that in there. Like, so in your head, you're just kind of like, yeah, that sounds about right. They got to the bottom of it. There was a little financial thing that was a question or something like that. You know, the first thing I would kind of pick apart of all of this, which I think this is really where, you know, because I am in my core, I'm a Ron Paulian, Rothbardian libertarian. So like the first thing that I think of here is like, this really was some like religion of the state type moment. You know, where you just have this, you know, like all these people, I know you think you're an Orthodox Jew, but you're really not, man, because you have this other religion that actually comes before your own religion, where you just, even the way they sit here and they go, it's just got the tone of like, well, you thought so, but the verdict's in, but we just found out. We just found out that actually there's nothing. And we just, you know, and even at the end, he says something where people want to speculate, but if they can't adjust to the new facts, well, then they can. And what is the fact? The fact is that these people who I just told you, who I know, you don't know them, but you're hearing me say I know them, and that almost feels like you know them. These people, they said so. But the problem is, there are no new facts. No new facts have emerged. The new fact is that Pam Bondi says nothing to see here. The new fact is that they wrote a memo saying, nah, it ain't none of those things. That's not facts. That's not new information. When you look at it, all you're left with purely is an appeal to the authority of government, is that the government said so. Nothing else has been given here, like objectively. It's not as if they released new information that really destroyed a theory that some people have. They simply just said, you're not getting anything else. It doesn't exist. And none of that's true. And the problem here is that Ben Shapiro can frame it as like, oh, people are speculating about this. But I mean, you could keep speculating, but what facts do you have? What evidence do you have? You know? And the thing is, look, all you need, like, I know I'm certainly not the like Jeffrey Epstein expert. I mean, there's people like Daryl Cooper, Whitney Webb, and people like that who have really done deep dives into the thing. But the whole story, if you know like 6 or 7 facts about it, you're already in a place where there's no question. It's not like the question is this a conspiracy or is it not a conspiracy? The only reasonable question is like, what is the conspiracy exactly here? And yes, there might be some people who jump to one conclusion or another, but like, no, I'm sorry, like the fact that this guy, you have, I mean, again, like if you just pick like a few of the basic facts, which is like he's in the Dalton, the most prestigious, private school in New York City with no background to justify it. He goes from there to Bear Stearns, rises up in this like unprecedented amount of time to like this crazy high level. Like he's like at partner level, like a year and a half into being at Bear Stearns. It makes absolutely no sense. The guy's worth hundreds of millions to billions of dollars, and there's absolutely no record of how he made that money. That simply does not happen. That is absolutely not a thing that happens short of intelligence agencies or criminal activity of some sort. Like that does not happen in just the free market. And then you have, I mean, there's so much more to it than this. I'm just like throwing out a few basic ones. Then you have the guy all of a sudden is connected to all of the most powerful people in the world, where we know for a fact that he's running a ring of sorts where there's a bunch of underage girls, and he's got cameras in all of his rooms in his apartment in New York City, and in all of the rooms on his private island, which he flies all of these powerful people out to. And we know for a fact that it's gone at least as far as massages in underwear. Like literally, that's Alan Dershowitz is like, I didn't take my underwear off while this young girl was massaging me. Like that's how much is on the record, which to me is a pretty far line to cross. And I'm not like the most conservative guy in the world, but like that's a pretty far line to cross there. And then we have pictures of Bill Clinton getting back rubs from him and all of this. He then gets popped for whatever the charge was, soliciting prostitution from an underage girl. Really feels like a euphemism if ever I've heard one. Like, you tried to rape a child. That's a little different than anyway. He then gets caught. The prosecutor gives him a sweetheart deal. The prosecutor on record says, Trump's former labor secretary, Costas, who you just mentioned, he says that he was told he was intelligence, and that's why he gave him a sweetheart deal. Then, when he's finally caught again, he dies in like the most secure prison where the cameras malfunction and the guard falls asleep. And this is just a few bullet points of the whole thing. There's people who go into much more depth. But once you just know that, how could you look anyone in the face and go, you're speculating? You're speculating that there was some type of conspiracy here. I mean, yes, I know the Israeli prime minister slept over at his house and visited him all the time. And yes, I know there's books been written about how Ghislaine Maxwell's dad was Mossad. And yeah, it's like, come on, man. You got to actually come up with some answers here. And none of them, there's no way the answer to this story is there's nothing to see here. And if it is, you're going to really need to explain that to me. You're going to need to address like every point that I just made right there and explain how this is not actually a part of something. Like once you know that, the onus is on you. We're not just speculating anymore, Ben Shapiro. Anyone honest would look at this and go, holy crap. And what are we talking about here? We're talking about almost certainly some type of intelligence operation that was predicated on raping underage girls in the United States of America. What type of American conservative is not outraged by this? Like, it's just so, it makes absolutely no sense. And so, like, again, the only logical conclusion here is that Ben Shapiro just thinks this looks really bad for Israel and wants it to go away. I just literally nothing else makes sense about why he would react in this way. And, hats off to him because he's talented at doing that propaganda stuff. But there was nothing there. There was literally like no point that he made in the whole time. And he's just saying, oh, they came out and said this. I know these guys. Therefore, that's right. You guys are speculating. We've got facts. But tell me which thing that I just said there was not factually proven at this point. I'm not even talking about some of the things in Jeffrey Epstein's past where there's like a bit of speculation going on. I'm talking about literally exactly what we know about it for certain. And if you can't even answer any of those points, you're just not even in the conversation. And anyway, I know I'm rambling a little here, but I will say, to the point you made before where you were like, this Epstein thing is really hurting Trump. I think you're so right about that. Like, I think this has profoundly changed the way Donald Trump is viewed in the moment right now by much of his base. And number one, it's because of, like what I was saying before, it's not just a promise that he broke. It's the most fundamental promise of Trumpism, which is to drain the swamp. And this just completely represents, like I'm not touching that. What is clearly the closest to like the swampiest thing you could think of. And on top of that, there's just for the reasons that I was mentioning about the Jeffrey Epstein story, and particularly him, the way he dies in this crazy scenario, Epstein didn't kill himself thing. Like, you were there for that. You can't overstate like how huge of like a meme that was. It's like one of the biggest of our time. And I think that's for the reason that like what I just laid out, like anyone who knows anything about it is like, dude, you can't tell me this doesn't stink to holy heaven. And so it's an equally big moment in a way for anyone to come up without being able to present anything and just say, nope, nothing to see here when they promise to give you the information. And then, also the way they handled it, having that whole stunt with the influencers, all of it's just been an utter disaster.